Washington is once again the center of West Asia diplomacy. U.S. President Donald Trump will host Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House. The high-stakes talks are aimed at pushing a Gaza peace plan. It will be Netanyahu's fourth visit to the White House since Trump returned to office in January. The talks come amid weeks of heightened tensions, deadly clashes along the Gaza border, and an escalating humanitarian crisis. For Trump, the meeting is a chance to present himself as a dealmaker who is determined to bring peace where decades of diplomacy has failed. Trump has proposed a 21-point peace plan to end the Gaza war, free hostages by Hamas, and disarm the Palestinian group following talks with Arab and Muslim leaders last week. In fact, he teased the possible breakthrough on Sunday. The U.S. president posted on his Truth Social network that all are on board for something special. First time ever, we will get it done. Netanyahu will be looking to shore up his country's most important relationship as it faces growing international isolation, but he has given little reason for optimism in recent days. In a defiant UN address last week, the Israeli prime minister vowed to finish the job against Hamas. Moreover, he promised to block a Palestinian state that key Western nations recently recognized. Netanyahu also appears to be reluctant to halt a military offensive in Gaza, where over 66,000 people have lost their lives in the past 2 years. The war will mark 2 years next month, the longest in Israeli history. But normally a staunch ally of Netanyahu, Trump has shown signs of frustration. The U.S. president is eager to translate his campaign promise to the ultimate deal for peace in West Asia into action. Palestinians remain skeptical in view of Washington's strong tilt toward Israel in past negotiations.
We are tired, truly. We are really tired of this life. It's a shame. It's enough. Other people's children are comfortable and they just watch us. What is the fault of this child? No reading, no writing, no clothes, no food, no drink like other people. Our children are all destroyed. Our youth are all destroyed.
The situation here is very bad, and we are afraid that they will storm and invade here. My sisters and I are appealing to leave to the south, but we need a paper to give us an ambulance to transport my children. We are sitting in a death trap here. We are fighting death here, and we go to the south, and they shoot at us there too. We have no life.
Netanyahu, on the other hand, is under mounting pressure from hostage families ahead of the talks. A large art installation was seen on a beach in Tel Aviv. It shows images of Trump and Netanyahu with a long nose facing each other. The art has a message, "Don't be fooled again." The U.S. president says a deal to end the war in Gaza is likely, but what's on offer is politically problematic for Benjamin Netanyahu. The outcome of the meeting is likely to depend on how much pressure Trump is willing to put on the Israeli prime minister to accept a deal on which both Israel and Hamas are still not sold. Trump calls it a moment of opportunity. Netanyahu calls it a necessity. But the people of Gaza, who are reeling from violence and shortage, will be watching the meeting closely. Will it produce tangible steps toward easing the Gaza crisis, or simply add to a long history of failed peace bids? Well, that remains to be seen. Okay, joining us now from Washington, D.C. is Heino Klink, who is the former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for East Asia. Thank you so much for joining us on WION. So this will be President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu's fourth meeting in the past 9 months. Can we expect a breakthrough today?
Well, thank you very much. Based on President Trump's statements over the weekend, as well as that of senior officials within his administration, I think there is some hope for a breakthrough. But I think we need to restrain some of our optimism because, as we've seen time and time and again, when we're on the cusp of some sort of diplomatic breakthrough happening, reality sets in again, which is, of course, that Hamas is a terrorist organization. Hamas sees that its only bargaining chip for continued survival is holding on to the hostages that they took on October 7th And I am reluctant to celebrate yet because I'm not confident that Hamas will do anything other than continue to hold these hostages, because they view this as the only thing they have standing in between the IDF and their ultimate demise, quite candidly.
And in recent days, President Trump has shifted somewhat on the issue of the West Bank. He says that he doesn't want annexation of the West Bank. We have news that Prime Minister Netanyahu met with a group of people who were supporting this annexation here in Washington. How difficult will it be for President Trump to try to convince Prime Minister Netanyahu?
Well, I think if there's anyone that can convince Prime Minister Netanyahu, it's President Trump. They've had a very long, positive relationship. And let's remember, the United States is Israel's best friend, and in many respects, its only friend, as Israel has lost the public relations war with respect to bringing the fight to Gaza. Now, let me just say that the Israelis were absolutely justified in attacking the Hamas strongholds after the heinous October 7th attacks. But at this point, again, 2+ years into this, the region and the world and the United States, the Trump administration in particular, wants to see an end to this conflict. And I think President Trump is prepared to put some diplomatic pressure, political pressure on Prime Minister Netanyahu for him to demonstrate some flexibility. Now, that flexibility should not include sacrificing Israel's security. So the common denominator that I think both the Prime Minister and the President share is that Hamas must be removed from any vestiges of power and influence in Gaza.
The New York Times was reporting that Hamas hasn't received a final proposal at this point. So just generally wrapping up, where do you see these negotiations and these talks going, not only between President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu, but with the Palestinians as well?
Well, again, there's no direct negotiations between Israel and Hamas. It goes through intermediaries, primarily the Qataris and in Qatar. And of course, the Israelis have eliminated many of the Hamas negotiators. So there are logistical challenges there. That being said, the fact that President Trump met with the heads of state and heads of government from very significant Muslim majority partners and allies that the United States has on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly meeting last week demonstrates to me that the Trump administration is getting the buy-in, again, of these majority Muslim countries and trying to get them involved in ensuring that Hamas, first of all, negotiates in good faith and realizes the reality of their situation. And that, again, that hopefully they will be able to put pressure on Hamas indirectly and directly to release the hostages, all of them, at one time, in return for a phased Israeli withdrawal, perhaps from Gaza, again, as has been outlined in some of the reports of what the 21-point peace plan entails.
Okay, well, we'll be watching very closely. Mr. Heino, thank you so much for joining us on WION. I look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Thank you.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.